So good morning, student. Yesterday, in our modern pharmaceutics topic in drug excipient interaction, we discuss about various drug excipient incompatibilities, the types, and then various methods to detect this incompatibility. In that, we discuss in depth about the analytical technique used to detect the drug excipient compatibility. In this, first we discuss about this DSC. So in this technique, initially uh, DSC curve of your API and the excipient is taken individually. Then the physical mixture or the final product is taken, and their DSC curve is taken, and then it is then interpreted. So this was one example. Also here we can say that separate groups are individual DSC is there, and then this is the combined DSC of the liposome. So here we can say that there is the shifting is occurred, so there may be the interaction, or there may be some entrapment, or there may be the change in the nature of the drug. This we can predict. The second was the thermogravimetric analysis. It is same as that of DSC. Then next was the isothermal microcalorimetry technique is there. Here we use that heat flow technology in a hot stage microscope. In a hot stage microscopy. So in hot stage microscopy, we discuss about the that again there is a stage is heated, and the micro photographs has been taken, and then that photographs is compared. But then afterwards we discuss about the various spectroscopic technique in that vibrational spectroscopy, FTIR, Raman, diffuse reflectance spectroscopy. In the spectroscopy technique, we initially take the that graph of our pure drug and excipient individually, and then we take the mixture graph, and then we compare. We detect that functional group whether it is present or not. If it is present, we can say that there is no incompatibility, or if that shifting of that functional group is there, we can say that there may be the incompatibility. So all these techniques are actually tells us whether there is that incompatibilities or not, which is not usually detected through the physical methods like color or just odor likewise. So these techniques are routinely used. Apart from that, there is the solid state nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, SSNMR, is also used. Then the next word, there is the microscopic technique. We see this in detail. It is called as the SEM, or the scanning electron microscopy. When we talk about this SEM, it provides the high resolution imaging, which is useful for evaluation of materials, or we can say that the texture of the drug, like surface structure, surface fracture, any flaws, any contaminants, or any corrosion is occurred over the surface. So SEM is used for the surface structure analysis. When we talk about this SEM, it is used to study the topography of materials and has a resolution of around 2 nanometer. So in this technique, electron probe is scanning over the surface. Okay, it not enter into the particle. It scans the surface of the particle or the material, and this electron interact with the material. Then it get reflected from that material, and it is collected by the that detectors. So the secondary electrons are emitted from the surface of the specimen, and then it is recorded. Same, use a specific set of coils to scan the beam in a raster like pattern and collect the scattered electrons. So the scattered electron is there. That scattered electron is collected by the detector, and then the image is generated. The main difference between SEM and TEM is that SEM creates the image by detecting the reflected or knockoff electron. Okay, while in the TEM, that is the transmission electron microscopy itself were indicate transmission means electron get penetrated into that sample, or it pass through the sample and then it creates the image. So this TEM and SEM, what is the big difference? In the SEM, that electron is not penetrated, it gives the surface morphology, okay, it get reflected, and in TEM it get penetrated. So TEM and SEM is there. TEM used for the image purpose only, and this SEM gives the structure, any flaws or any corrosion or any contaminants over that particles. It is clear? SEM many a times. Then this our another technique is the chromatographic technique. In this chromatographic itself name indicate, here we form the chromatogram, and the most commonly used is the HPLC, that is the high performance liquid chromatography or high pressure liquid chromatography. Here we use the pressure, and due to that pressure sample get differentiated in the column, and according to their polarity or according to the mobile phase we had used, that sample get separated, and we get different samples in this HPLC. When we talk about this TLC, it is they are the small plates are placed in the solution or in the that our mobile phase or our system, and we take a spot over that slide, and according to that moment we determine what are the different bands, and we detect how many samples are there. So nowadays these HPLC or HPTLC methods are commonly used to detect the drug excipient interaction. If there is how we can determine this excipient and drug interaction is there or not. So we can take a peak of our drug and peak of our excipient, and then we will mix it, and if we got to separate or distinct peak, we can say that there is no interaction. Or if we got some um, merging of the peak, or some there is tailing factor is there. Tailing factor means a broadening of that peak is there. So we can say that there may be the interaction in between that excipient. For more analysis or accurate analysis, this HPLC is attached with that LCMS. It is called as the LC liquid chromatography, mass spectroscopy, or with that mass spectroscopy. So in that, with that principle of that mass spectroscopy, we get different um, that ions according to that their mass to charge ratio, and we can say that which group is there, or by analyzing that such types of mass to charge ratio, we can determine the structures also. So this is again one of the advanced technology we use in this when we talk about this chromatographic technique. So these are some references for today discussion. You can go through these references. You can find out more literature related to this drug excipient interaction. So when we talk about this kinetics of stability and stability testing, so stability plays a major role in the pharmaceutical company. When we talk about the stability or the shelf life of that particular drug, so there is the when that concentration of drug is fall to its 90%, we can say that that is its shelf life, or T90 is there. So there may be the 10% reduction in the concentration is there. So we can say that that drug is not that is its shelf life. So how it is determined, what are the different conditions are there, what are the first order kinetics, second order kinetics, what do you mean by the zero order, first order, then half life, all these things we have to discuss in this kinetics of stability and stability testing. Okay, when the stability testing is carried out, so we must know for which market we are preparing our drug, say for the US or rest of the world. So rest of the world means European countries, like, so we have to see that at which zone that country came, and accordingly we have to adjust, or according to we have to set our stability testing protocols. What is the purpose? The purpose of the stability testing is to provide the evidence on how the quality of a drug substance or the drug product varies with the time under the influence of variety of environmental factor. So we generally know that every 10 degree increase in the temperature, rate of reaction is increased 2 to 3 times. Means when we prepare a product for such country where the temperature is high, ultimately we can say that it will not be stable for that specified period of time, at for which it is going to supposed to be stable at 30 degrees Celsius. It is not going to be stable at 50 degrees Celsius. So likewise we have to uh, we first understand it, and then accordingly we have to prepare the storage condition, that is the store in the cool place, store at room temperature. And then in our India, our room temperature is somewhat varies from 10 degrees Celsius to 40 degree or 45 degrees Celsius. But in European countries never goes to 25, 30, 35. So likewise there are some differences are there. That differences we must um, uh, uh, we must know all these temperature related differences. So environmental factor we have to consider, like temperature, humidity, light, and to establish a rest period for the drug substance or a shelf life for the drug product, and recommended storage conditions. So ultimately, by considering all these things, we have to determine the shelf life, and then we have to determine the uh, that storage condition, and we have to write over that label that store in cool place, dry place, or in refrigerator, or below 0 degrees Celsius. Likewise, that storage condition has to be maintained or mentioned in that label. Okay, so majorly this pharmaceutical scientist from that particular company plays a major role. And pharmaceutical manufacturer routinely utilizes the principles covered in this. Just we discussed that related to that ICH and related to this particular country. Then there is again the major role of this community pharmacist of that particular area. It is where it is supposed to prepare a prescription, or is supposed to dispense the prescription. He or she must give that knowledge to that patient about that storage and all these condition. So that's why the product is safe during the consumption period. And factors like temperature, heat, moisture should not affect the stability of the product. Uh, when we talk about this stability, uh, when we take one or more drug, okay, so or the time at which when we take such types of drugs. So many drugs are stable at acidic pH, some drugs are unstable at acidic pH. For example, if a thiamine hydrochloride, which is stable at pH 2 to 3, and it is unstable over the 6, and when it is taken with the buffer vehicle, say pH 8 or 9, or some vitamins, it get rapidly deactivated. So this vitamin rapidly get deactivated. What is its meaning? Concomitant administration is most important, and that is the role of the community pharmacist or the hospital pharmacist to inform such uh, that prescription incompatibilities with that particular patient, that it should not be taken with that basic drug. If it is thiamine, like vitamin is there, then At the same time, knowing the rate at which the drug deteriorates or at various hydrogen ion concentration allows one to choose a vehicle that will be retard or prevent the degradation. So this is again very important role for the pharmacist to determine the vehicle at which vehicle that particular drug we are administering is uh, will become a is the stable one. So the patient expect that product will have a reasonable shelf life, even though pharmaceutical manufacturer label prescription and over the counter drug product with expiration dating to guide the patient consumer in this matter. Patient may store this so uh, this vehicle plays a major role, and the patient should be informed for such types of vehicle. And that product have a reasonable shelf life, right? A reasonable shelf life, and that product should be stable, or it should be placed in such a way that its stability should not affect. So uh, even though the pharmaceutical manufacturer label prescription and over-the-counter drug product with expiration dating to guide the patient and consumer, in this matter, patient may store this product in the maybe in the bathroom where the humidity is there, or at a temperature they will simply put over the in the into the window where the temperature is high or direct sunlight comes. So it will affect the stability of that particular medication. So does it affect the shelf life? Yes, it affects, and that point must be discussed with the patient. So there is a major role of this community pharmacist in advising the to the patient related to the stability of the drug. So